It all started with a small meeting gathering members of the government of Niger and the civil and traditional society of the country. The meeting was chaired by UNFPA Executive Director Dr. Natalia Kanem and Mr. Ismail Mbeng, representative of UNFPA in Niger. Dr. Lala Malika Issoufou, First Lady of Niger, enters the room and walks with a firm step towards the podium to launch the session. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, statistics are alarming, with more than 76% of girls getting married before the age of 18 and more than 28% before the age of 15. The lack of schooling for young girls led to early fatalities with consequences of obstetric fistula, damaging to their health and their economic reintegration. Many families are still experiencing these dramatic situations in Niger. This is why a special mention is made of the situation of girls, whose empowerment is held back by the strong pressure of socio-cultural constraints. And that's why, well aware of this non-positive situation, the government of Niger is committed to reverse the trend by working resolutely on the quantitative and qualitative improvement of the various social indicators. Thus, progress has been made in the areas of reproductive health, and the total fertility rate has decreased from 7.6 children per woman in 2012 to 6 children per woman in 2017. We work relentlessly on the empowerment of women in Niger, and at this level, particular emphasis is placed on schooling and keeping the girl at school. Following First Lady Issoufou, Dr. Natalia Kanem, Executive Director of UNFPA, started by attributing these significant results from Niger to the leadership of President Issoufou, to that of the First Lady, and also to the personal commitment of the actors of change in Niger.
Significant results that mean health and happiness for the women and girls of this country. And I am excited to hear from the panelists today and for the contributors and partners about how these achievements were made possible. I would say that it's leadership, it's personal commitment, and it's also the active involvement of the President and the First Lady of Niger that have made a difference. President Issoufou has championed the adoption at the continental level of the African Union Roadmap on harnessing the demographic dividend. These dividends can only be gained by investing in the young people of Africa. And he has also played a leadership role regionally, initiating the Sahel Women Empowerment and Demographic Dividend, SWED, initiative. Our First Lady of Niger, Dr. Malika Issoufou, has worked tirelessly to fight obstetric fistula as a medical doctor. She's even participated in surgical interventions herself on fistula patients, and she is convening the dynamic First Ladies of Africa from right across the region, and we're proud of that support, which is so much more than symbolic and has inspired the young women of the region.
3 ministers of the government exposed strategies of their departments leading to better lives of girls and women of Niger. Ms. Amina Mohammed, Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, praised the actions of First Lady Issoufou.
When we got to Niger, we were going to visit one of the centres, and one of those centres that was looking at the treatment and the repairs that would be done to children that ended up with having to have that surgery. She took us there, and it was a wonderful welcome, and we were all wondering, okay, we're going to go around the centre. We went around it, and then she said, well, come into this theatre, and this is what's happening, and we thought, well, this is not so good, and we went in there, and there was a woman who was being prepared for a repair, But I think the most remarkable thing was when she just put on her gloves, because she's a doctor and that's the work that she does daily. So I really appreciate that, because that really is something that's our Royal Highnesses, Excellencies, and all the wonderful women and committed, passionate workers that we have today. The experience that we had going to the country level really was about the magnitude of what we have to do to put health systems in place, education systems in place, at the very basic levels. This is a right. This is not something that we're asking as a band-aid or an interim solution. It's something that we need, without which we will not have the foundations to do all the other ambitious things that we speak about in the SDGs. And that was what the eye-opener was for us, just reinforcing the message that it's not about numbers. It's about the girls, it's about the women. It was also about the people who are helping to make this happen. Our traditional rulers, our women advocates, civil society, and other leadership that we saw there. And I think often the pictures that we get are of our government functionaries, and I was one before. But this really is about the people on the ground who are doing this daily. It's the scale at which we were looking at.
L'Association des chefs traditionnels du Niger.
Traditional and religious leaders also showed their commitment to the well-being of the country's women and girls. They exposed their strategies and praised the First Lady's actions.
Education.
Several leaders of international organizations took the floor to stress the success of Niger's actions and strategies for better living conditions for the country's women and girls.
Norway is a steadfast partner for gender equality. We have consistently been a partner of UNFPA. We're a strong supporter of Niger's important work. Norway is a consistent partner on gender equality, and we will continue this great struggle for a better and common future for girls in all over the world and in Africa especially. Thank you.
Looking at how our joint partnership, led by the Honorable First Lady and Niger's government, with strong community engagement, is making a real difference for women and girls of Niger. How it is giving Niger's girls a real choice, helping her to life in dignity and respect, where she decides over her own body, her own life, and her own future. Like speakers before me, I'm deeply impressed by the achievements that so many of you here gathered in this room have made together. And I hope that this is only the beginning of a long and successful partnership. To me, SDG number 5, Sustainable Development Goal number 5, is absolutely key to unlocking all the SDGs. I'm a She Decides champion, and as such, I'm working with others to establish a new normal, a situation where fulfillment of fundamental rights of every girl and every woman, including the right to decide over her own body, is the norm and not the exception. Last year, I had the pleasure of visiting Niger, from the border town of Agadez up north to Niamey. And in Niamey, I got the chance to visit a UNFPA-supported center, giving girls a safe space with access to family planning and knowledge of girls' rights. I visited one of the UNFPA's husband schools that I mentioned on one of the posters. The Danish government has put the fight for equality for every girl and woman at the very center of our development policy. We have increased the Danish contribution to support partners' efforts on sexual and reproductive health and rights to a record high, and this means that we are going to spend $110 million in 2018. This also includes support to UNFPA's work in Niger, amounting to 50 million Danish kroner, approximately $8 million for the coming 5 years. This builds on our decade-long support to UNFPA's activities in Niger and the close bilateral partnership between our two countries. Denmark also supports the Elimin initiative and will from this year begin supporting the French-driven Muskoka Fund, which support SRHR, family planning and maternal child health in a partnership with UNICEF, UNFPA, UN Women and the WHO in Niger and other countries in the Sahel region. As our discussion today reveals, the result of many of these initiatives are very promising and are creating real progress in enhancing girls' and women's rights in Niger, thereby at the same time also addressing the major challenges in relation to the high population growth, as we heard earlier on. Yet the challenges remain vast, and as a close development partner, we do see potential for scaling up further the efforts to ensure equal rights and opportunities for women and girls in Niger and beyond. Denmark certainly is ready to do our part. Thank you very much.
ECOWAS has the highest prevalence rate on the continent in terms of early child marriage.
Tout ce que porte le Niger ne le porte pas que pour lui-même. Il le porte pour toute une région, il le porte pour tout un continent, il le porte aussi pour plus de stabilité pour tout le monde.
Nous sommes avec vous, Madame la Première Dame. Mais ce qui m'a le plus ébloui.
Et je crois vraiment qu'aujourd'hui, c'est la démonstration que ce que vous faites est vraiment un modèle.
Je voudrais d'abord, au nom du Fonds des Nations Unies pour la population, dire merci à la Première Dame du Niger donc, pour son leadership, son engagement, mais également tous les efforts qu'elle déploie pour l'amélioration des conditions de vie des filles, des femmes, pas seulement au Niger ou dans le bassin du lac Tchad, mais partout en Afrique. Madame la Première Dame, soyez remerciée.